to. If churches do this, you will not be missing your youth and young adults. What is it?
Well, first of all, I'll say there's no silver bullet. I've been a pastor for 22 years and we've invested, the church has been involved and have been heavily invested in young people. We still lose a number of young adults, but we can always do better. So the principles I've seen work in the real world, again, nothing's perfect, no silver bullet is number one. Supporting the parents. The parents are the number one kids pastor. The biggest influence in a child's faith journey is their parents, for better or for worse. So number one, empower the parents, support the parents, encourage the parents. Number two, make church fun. You can't bore kids into heaven. And again, it isn't just all entertainment, but it needs to be fun and meaningful. Number three is get them involved from stage one. My right-hand man at Langley there, he started running my laptop when he was like 6 years old. And yes, my laptop did get dented. It was a very expensive Apple titanium laptop back in the day. But you know, the young people can't leave the church if they're running the church. So right from day one, get those 5-year-olds, those 6-year-olds, those 7-year-olds, all the way up involved. And literally God's vision is limitless. There should never be a point you say you have too many volunteers. If you think you have too many volunteers or too much money, your vision's too small, right? You're always looking for more of that. And really, it's building up the young people, discipling them spiritually, as well as involving them into actual ministry leadership, getting them involved in song service and running technology, editing videos, running your website, running the soundboard, working on props, helping with Sabbath school, wherever. There's a million places to serve. And like on here on the question is, I want to volunteer somewhere. We want to get young people involved wherever they are in their faith journey. So again, parents are the biggest influence. So
and how can, when you say parents, influence, of course, you know, often parents say, well, look, I even tried my hardest. At least I brought them a young person here in church. So come on, you know, do something, right?
This is your job. You're the professional.
You're the professional. So are you saying that you want parents to be fully involved in the church as well? But in what ways? What if you'd say we don't want the adults to be around? Because, you know, we were the youth.
Yeah, so you use common sense, right? And, you know, like Jesus had a failure rate, right? He had a lot of his disciples left him, right? Of course, when he was crucified, all his disciples left him. The only ones around were the women, right? And praise God for those women, for sure, right? But in the parable of the sower, it was a failure rate of 75% with the seeds. You scatter the seeds, 75% of those seeds brought no fruit, but the ones that did bring fruit brought 100-fold. So you have to know that failure is part of this process. We're called to be faithful. So number one, we do the best we can with parents. So one thing, if I ever hear a parent say that, oh, I bring them to you to learn about Jesus. If they're new at church, I just smile and nod, say, praise the Lord, they're here. If they're a regular church attendee, I fire myself. Even though I'm a full-time kids pastor, I'm not their kids pastor primarily. The parents are the ones. So first of all, I say, you know what? The biggest influence is parents. And one of the things I'll do is I don't do baptism classes without the parents there whenever possible. I always try to include the parents. It is more work, but if they're there together.
For what age? All age or
all
even the teenagers, the parents?
I try and bring the parents in.
Okay.
And there is a thing, there's teenagers, a natural development to kind of have a bit more independence from the parents. Again, you use common sense. Whenever possible, I try and have the parents in my baptism classes. I tell them, because listen, the baptism class is going to end in 10 weeks or however long it is. And then I'm going to do new baptism classes with the new group, right? You're their primary discipler. And by being in the class, when you drive home, it's not, what did Pastor Walter tell you? Oh, I don't know. Right? It's like, no, you had the conversation together. Hey, what do you think when Pastor Walter said this? Or we looked at that Bible. What do you think about that Bible verse? So number one, your conversations are totally different on the way home. Number two, the parents need the reminder. We used to do prophecy seminars where the whole church be reminded about state of the dead, about the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation. A lot of churches don't do that anymore. My church stopped doing it because we couldn't get an audience. Not that we don't like it. It just stopped working as our culture changed. And so there has to be that reminder for the parents. It solidifies the parents' faith. And then number four, there's that spiritual experience they have. They have that spiritual revival of spending 10 weeks in these extra Bible studies. And at the end, that's a mutual experience that they can continue on. And again, when I'm in Bible studies, I tell the parents point blank is like, I really encourage them, not based on guilt or shame, just really encourage them to have even just a 5-minute, just a prayer together, read like one Bible verse. Something is better than nothing. Do some sort of spiritual connection each day, because I can't compensate for a lack of family worship. There's nothing I can do as a pastor that's going to be as powerful as a family getting together to pray together and read God's word, a devotional book, something. I mean, we watch Bible videos on my iPhone. We've watched a whole bunch of the Bible Project. There's There's Saddleback Kids has these wonderful Bible stories. Kids on the Move. There's these different even YouTube channels. We'll watch all those videos. So now we're back into Picture Bible. There's tons of reasons, right? Just a little picture Bible, read a page of a picture Bible every day. It's really simple, but just doing something. And so I always say, like, I fire myself as a kids pastor every time I'm with parents. I'm encouraging them, and I tell them point blank, you're the biggest influence on your kid. For sure. They're like, they don't feel qualified. You're like, hey, here's a kid's Bible, age appropriate, read one page a day. Right?
Okay, so you're not necessarily in support of, hey, youth and young adults, your parents are boring, and parents, just move away, let them
Absolutely not.
Let them meet. I don't know, even separately, and they don't get.
Well, no. I'm okay with some separate meetings. So most of my career, I ran children's church where the parents were in the big church. Now that was evangelistic. When a new family comes to church, the kids don't know how to behave in church. Okay. And I've had it where I was the senior pastor, so I could not do children's church at the same time. I tried to make a very multi-generational friendly church service, but I'm telling you, new families came in, the kids are crying all over. I had families stop coming to church because they weren't blessed. It was so distracting having the kids crawl everywhere. And so that's why for most of my career, I've ran a separate children's church. But the attitude is always, I'm not replacing the parents. The parents are the number one influence. I'm giving them a break so they can hear a sermon uninterrupted, and they can also talk about some complicated topics, maybe some mature topics. I got the kids over here teaching them in a way that makes sense to them. And I've been a senior pastor. It is extremely hard to preach a sermon and run a church service that is super fun for the kids and also super good for the adults. One of them is almost always bored, right? And during COVID, I did it again, right? We had the little bubbles, and I had the family church where the families were all together in their bubbles. And a lot of the parents came to me and said, hey, stop trying to do everything. Just do a kids church. I'll put up with that. So here's my closing comment now. Let's see another question. As a parent, Pastor Koso, so pretend you're not a pastor, you're just a parent, Sure. You're visiting churches, you visit 2 churches in the Victoria area, yeah. And one of them just nails the sermon. The parents are just blessed, like, that was the most inspirational sermon ever, and the kids are like, Sabbath school was super boring, I'm bored to death. You visit the next church the next Sabbath, sermon is meh. You're like, man, he had like 10 different points, 10 different directions. But the kids love the Sabbath. They're like, Dad, we got to come back next week. Man, that Bible story was hype. Man, that was so cool what that Sabbath school teacher did. Which church are you going to the next week? Are you going to the good Sabbath school, good for kids, bad for adults, or the great for adults and boring for kids? Which church are you going to?
Absolutely. The one that has good Sabbath school for kids and it's exciting for kids. What about youth and young adults?
I put them to work. When I started my career, again, the summer camp model is the 45-year-old he runs summer camp. He does not minister to the kids directly. He hires a bunch of young adults and teenage volunteers, and they minister to the kids. So when I worked at Church in the Valley, I had an army. I had like 30 to 45 young people who ran children's church for me. Now, I was involved. But like, I didn't lead song service most of the time, right? The young people led songs. I would train them, like John the Baptist. I must decrease, they must increase. I would deliberately train young people in every area, running the sound system, running the laptop, making the Kahoot game, leading songs, etc. And what it was there is it's less scary to lead in a children's program is to lead in front of the big church. And so that was kind of the leadership factors. Everyone said, oh, wow, this is a great kids program you're doing. That's the visible part of the iceberg. The part they didn't see was and to be honest, it was more work. I did the program, a lot of it myself, a lot easier without mentoring 35 young people. But we'd rotate through. Kids would help either every second week or once a month. And they were running like 80% of the program they were running. I would do more of the boring admin work, right? Okay. But right. So that's what we developed an army of young people, got them involved there. Then as they grew up, then they would transition into the big church, running the sound system, being involved with praise and worship, praying up front, whatever.
Listen, just a quick question, because sometimes it sounds great, and I know you were pastoring in one of our most successful churches, Church in the Valley, a big crowd. Have you ever met teenagers who don't want to do anything? They're not interested in technology. They're not even interested in cars. They're not even interested in computers. They don't want to even do anything with a microphone.
I have never met anybody that doesn't have a unique gift from God to be used in ministry somewhere. Now, if they come off that way, you haven't connected with them. If you develop a relationship with young people, you show you care about them, you invest in their life, you get to know them, everybody has an interest somewhere. I found other youth pastors have found this. When you go to a new church, the biggest impact is with the early teens. There's this dynamic like a baby goose, right? The early teens and down, they imprint on you and they will bond with you as their leader in a way the older teenagers won't. And so part of the reality check I found is you go to a new church, when you show up and sometimes the people are already 16 or 17 and don't really have a spiritual interest, don't really want to be involved. I have found them very hard to get involved. Where the early teens and down, you connect with them, they imprint on you as kind of a spiritual leader for them. They buy into your vision. And when they become 16, 17, you start mentoring, getting them involved there, as they mature and their skills develop, their maturity develops, those are the ones that really nail it when they're old. So I will say that, I don't want to be too idealist. I have experienced that for sure. If they don't have an interest as they're older. But again, the key thing is I said you start at age 5. You start at age 5. So the younger kids, they're excited about almost everything. Some of them, maybe if they're really wounded or hurt, they might have a tough guy thing. But if you love them, you will break through to that. And so especially, I would say if they're 14 or younger, man, they have an interest and a passion, and I'll create a new ministry, right? There's just things I'm not really good at. I don't really like. I don't like video editing. That's why I don't do any of it, right? But young people do. But they'll have ideas. As you get to know them, especially if they fall in love with Jesus, and you start praying with them, and you can give them a spiritual gift survey, something more official, or even just unofficial, just a conversation. They go into McDonald's, get them an ice cream cone, and just talk with them and be like, hey, is there something you would like to do that you think would help the church? And the thing is, though, you have to be open-minded and defend them, because they might want to do something new, something different, like let's say a puppet show. So people aren't going to like puppets. Well, at some point, you don't want to divide your church, but you have to stick up for young people too. So you got to hit a balance and pray about that. But you have to be willing to try some new things with young people as well. Because if it's just like no to everything, but a traditional sermon, traditional song service, a lot of young people are going to get bored. Right. And so I'm not saying we need to have a heavy metal concert in church. I'm not saying that, right? You got to work with the church culture you have, but you need to love the young people, disciple them spiritually. And then, like I said, almost all the time, there's going to be an area that already exists and people can be involved with, or invent a new area for them.
Okay. Well, listen, we definitely, here in Victoria, we try to bring balance because we do love old songs. And I see some of our young people love those old hymns.
Mm-hmm. And the hymns are classic, man.
But at the same time, and you used at least one hymn in your presentation here. Mm-hmm. But we also know the Bible says, write a new song, right? Sing a new song to the Lord. And it's unfortunately that at one time we as a Seventh-day Adventist church were leading in music, even in the world, in radio, HMS Richards, we had quartets, we had gospel music. And now if you ask any of our Adventist young men to name one Adventist musician, unfortunately, we're kind of lacking behind.
Take 6.
But because our church, unfortunately, there was a period of time too critical on music, right? So we're kind of lacking behind, but we're still writing. We're writing and we're using new songs because this new generation, they grew up with new songs, right? So we thank you for saying this. Final question, almost final question. All right. If somebody says my daughter is 13, she's too young to make a decision for baptism, what would you say to a parent who says that?
Well, I would say more like age 6, right? I'm always careful. Age 13 is prime time for baptism. Now, the catch is I'm always talking to young people. When you're a child, you see everything in black and white, including God. So you have a very real but a very simple view of God, which is beautiful. And Jesus complimented that all the time, the faith of a child, right? But as you become a teenager, your brain literally develops in a way that you can start to think abstract thoughts. You see things in different shades, right? You see a lot more of the complexity of reality and the complexity of God. And so your childhood, your black and white, simple picture of God kind of falls apart. It gets deconstructed. You have to reconstruct it and kind of recommit to God as a teenager. And so I'm always preparing them, because if you put a cold blanket on them when they're young and they're passionate for being baptized, you might push them away. So you don't want to do that. You also, I'm not going to baptize a 3-year-old. So number one, I always say, listen, the most important part is making your decision for Christ. When you pray a sinner's prayer, you ask God into your heart, you can do that at age 4, at age 5, and you're a follower of Jesus. You're best friends with Jesus. Just like you can be in love when you're 17, but I wouldn't recommend getting married. You can be in love, you can be dedicated, committed to your boyfriend or girlfriend, great, but it's probably best you wait till you're in your 20s or at least out of high school, right? And so the young people, I compare it to marriage as well and say, you know what, if you're 6, and I lean on the parents. The parents know, is that kid really, are they just excited with the week of prayer with the cool stories? Are they at home showing a spiritual commitment that they want to pray? They're tuned in for family worship. They know they're thankful before their meal. They're not just, causing chaos on their brothers and sisters, being rebellious or defiant or just negative or whatever, right? And so, I would have to be convinced to baptize a 6-year-old. I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I'd really, have a careful conversation with the parents. And where are they in their spiritual maturity, right? Are they ready? Are they ready to get married to Jesus, right? And if they really are, hey, listen, I've done some young weddings with people. They're so happily married, right? And then some other weddings that didn't turn out. And so that's true. There isn't a black and white rule. 13, I would definitely say, again, do they have the signs of spiritual commitment and spiritual maturity? Are they ready to get married at age 13? As far as age goes, age 13 is prime time. That's perfect. But younger age 6, 7, 8, I'd be more careful,
Right. So biblically speaking, Jesus was baptized at 30. Remember Renke Stefanovic, one day, our professor, he told us, I never forgot, he said that in Jewish culture, you're nothing. And no one will even take you seriously until you're 30. Mm-hmm. So Jesus didn't want his age to be a stumbling block. And according to Renke Stefanovic, he was baptized at 30 because in Jewish custom, even today, you're still a baby if you're 29. No one will take you seriously. You reach the age 30, and that's when Jesus was baptized, started his ministry in preaching and teaching. Otherwise, no one would take him seriously. No one would even listen to him. So I never forgot that. But I don't know about you, but I did notice that some of our kids who are only 8, some of them may be even deeper than some adults.
Yes.
And know more about Christ, and it's shocking.
And that faith of a child. And again, like, are they excited with the week of prayer? Is this an external excitement? Or are they really dedicated to the Lord in their hearts? And that is something that the parents are going to know the best.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
All right, and this is fine. My kids watched you as part of this online church during COVID-19. Mm-hmm. You ran a fantastic program. It was very engaging, and they couldn't wait to connect with you and be part of your Sabbath school and worship. So thank you for that. But now we hear that you're no longer at Church in the Valley because you chose, you feel like God is calling you to do something else. Can you just please tell us what is that you're doing?
Well, the long story short, I've always loved science. I've always loved theology, right? So I was a science major for 2 years first. I was doing pre-med, did my MCAT, medical college admissions test, all that stuff. And then I fought God for about 4 years, eventually became a pastor, but I always had this love of science in the background, which of course kind of lends itself into some apologetics. Apologetics is the intellectual defense of the faith, and apology is a defense, right? So it's based on the Latin word for defending. And so it's always kind of been on the side, and I've had a bit of a emphasis on that. Like I preached a sermon, Why I Believe in God, way back in the day. And then my brother became an atheist in 2014. And of course we grew up in the same home, same family, same church, same Christian school, etc. And so he knows my entire faith journey, and he called me out on it. One day he called me out and said, Walter, listen, man, you have a super biased background. You grew up in a Christian home, went to a Christian school, Christian college, you get paid to tell people Jesus is real. That is super biased. That's like someone working for the oil company and then, protesting climate change or whatever, right? But it's true, right? Being paid to do something creates a bias. Mm-hmm. And I had what I call my sweaty Paul moment. I had this moment where I said, do I want to look into if Jesus is actually real, even if I discover that I'm wrong? What I grew up believing is just, a legend. It's just a lie. As my brother believes it's all a lie. And so, we'd had several debates before that, and I had a sweaty Paul moment. Okay, do I want to really engage with an open mind, open to being proven wrong? And so there was one specific debate we were having immaturely on Facebook, right? Forgive me for that. But we were having, myself and some of his other atheist friends were going back and forth on whether God is real, this or that. And there's this specific quote about the Dead Sea Scrolls that prove the Bible's false, right? I said, well, I learned that the Dead Sea Scrolls support the Bible. And here's someone telling you, well, of course, but I learned that in a Christian school, which is by definition bias, pro-Bible bias, right? So I went on Amazon with my palms sweating and I ordered the books off Amazon to see whether this is true or not. And then what I found is it was true, but not true. It was the books of Moses were quoting where the Bible changed, where the parallel books of Moses, right? Like there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John are parallel books in the New Testament. In the books of Moses is Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, parallel books. So one book will say Moses went up on a mountain, gave a speech, but doesn't have the content of the speech. Then he came down off the mountain. The other book says Moses went up on the mountain, gave a speech, and has the content of the speech, the words that he spoke. Then he came off the mountain. So here's the speech is included in this book. And some of the scribes, they would copy the Bible, they would copy the speech from one book and insert it into the other book. So does that change the Bible? No. The implication, the assumption is you're looking for a simple story of Moses without miracles, where Moses is like a nice guy and a military genius and a strong leader. And then you want to see that story evolve like Santa Claus or King Arthur does, or even Alexander the Great. Those stories evolve and the miracles get bigger and bigger over time. Well, this had nothing to do with the miracles, had nothing to do with actually changing the story. It copied the speech from one to the other. So yes, it was true. The Bible did change, but not really. And then with the Dead Sea Scrolls, of course, we tend to lean. One of the things we look at accuracy is we look at what's the oldest copy of the Bible we have. And we're not hiding that. Oh, my Bible is over there across the room. But like in there, we don't hide it. The ending to Gospel of Mark, the oldest manuscripts don't have the ending to Mark. The oldest manuscripts don't have the story of the woman caught in adultery. Doesn't mean the story is not true. It means that the best evidence we have, John didn't have that story in John chapter 7, the original book. But the story of Jesus is like 99% intact. The resurrection of Jesus is universal. Women are the first ones to see him, universal. His death, the miracles that he did. He was the Son of God. It's like in pretty much every New Testament book. So the bottom line is I went into it with an open mind, said, is this actually true? And I just found the evidence to be, as I went into it, again, digging into it, is this actually true or not? Overall, I found the evidence so robust and strong that I started doing this. I preached a series of sermons. So my brother became an atheist 2014. 2019, I felt God called me to reach the Williams in the church, because my brother never told me he was struggling. He just left the church. It's like someone gets a divorce, then you try and bring them back into their marriage. It's way harder. And that was my experience with my brother. I said, well, let me see if I can reach people before they get divorced. Because I know in a large church, there's people who won't be there in 6 months. So then I preached to the people on their way out the back door the next 6 months and just opened my heart. I interviewed my brother, called my brother, got all his quotes, the things that he hated about church, he thinks is stupid, that it's a lie, that it's fake, whatever. I got Richard Dawkins quotes and I went into it head on, thinking I'd make the church mad. Like, Pastor, I come to church to learn about Jesus, not Richard Dawkins. And so I preached, I'm ready for the angry church members to come up to me, right? I don't come to church to learn about atheism. And instead of them being mad at me, they come to me and they loved it, especially the ones that work in a secular environment. Mm-hmm. And they said, do that again. Only time in my career as a kids pastor that the church, the adult church members basically begged me to come back and do a sermon series. I always do like one sermon at a time, right? And so I did a series with the adults, and it was so well received. Again, I don't know my own audience, obviously. But then I said, well, let me try it with high school. So I always do weeks of prayer about twice a year, because, I'm paid to be at my local church. So I did that with a high school in Calgary, where I graduated from, and the elementary teacher said, hey, do this for the kids. I was like, well, I know kids aren't really talking about atheism. So I ignored the elementary teachers, but the Holy Spirit brought me around later. Sorry, elementary teachers in Calgary. And then I brought it down to the kids, totally lost them. Way too heavy for them. So then, but I'm a kids pastor, right? I know how to talk to kids. I went back and kind of reinvented the kids version. And then I started doing this for, K through 12, evidence that God is real. asking instead of, if God isn't real, who cares what he says? So the first question is God real or not? If he's real and the Bible is his book, then we care what the Bible says. Kind of at step 0. So I started doing this around Western Canada, really in 2019 with that church sermon and then the week of prayers. And then I love doing it. The kids respond. They want answers to, is God real or not? Why should I trust the Bible? They are asking those questions and we're not answering them often, not answering them adequately. And so I just saw this incredible response and then kept getting more and more invitations I have to say no to, because again, I only do about 2 weeks of prayer per year. I'm paid to be in my local church. So here this year, 2024, we officially resigned our ministry at Church in the Valley, and we're moved sold our house, moved into a motorhome, and we're being like the Apostle Paul. We're going around and we have no salary. We're only being paid where we preach. And, at churches and at Christian schools and also public universities. Preached last time, I was at Vancouver Island University doing an evangelistic series there. It's similar to what I do here, but more advanced with the university students. And they also enjoy it. We didn't get 20 baptisms though, right? Because you're in a secular environment. But wherever they were reinforcing their faith and they were exploring the questions together. So that was a bit of a long answer, but yeah, with the long story short, my brother became an atheist. I dug into it. Is God actually real or not? I found what I thought was really solid evidence, put that into a church sermon. The church loved it. That made me do a series on it. Then I took that sermon series and put it into a week of prayer for high school and did a regular week of prayer for the little kids, right? What the Bible says, etc. And the teachers asked me, and I ignored them at first. And then eventually I brought it down to K through 12. And again, you see the kids, every school I'm going to, we're getting so many decisions. This is actually probably one of the best ones I've ever had from the percentage of decisions we got. But every school we're going to, so many young people are signing up for Bible studies. It's amazing. And really that's the groundwork is already done with the local church and the pastors and the teachers working there. They're already doing this whole foundation work. I'm coming in putting the cherry on top. And the kids are ready to make those decisions, right? They're being ministered to every week, every day. They're praying with their teachers. They're having worship assembly every week. And then to come in and explain why God is real, why the Bible is actually true, the kids are responding in an amazing way. Right. And so this is worth full-time effort. And listen, we can't speak, even in it full-time is a drop in the bucket. Like, we're not getting every school in North America, not even close. We're hoping to get every school in Canada over 2 years. We're not going to get every school in North America. And so the harvest is huge. And we're trying to do as much as we can to minister to these kids.
Okay, listen, did I say it was final question? One last one. Where do you get your energy? Listen, you're full of energy, my friend. So just briefly tell us.
I don't know.
You're vegetarian, vegan. You run around. Like, what do you do?
I eat my Wheaties.
I can't stop you. Do you guys notice? He's just unstoppable. What's your secret?
I don't know if I'm ADD or ADHD or what.
You've been speaking all morning to this morning. I mean, you look like you're in the best shape of your life, because I know you for 30 years now. So tell us, is there something you did in your life? Or
I don't know, man. I have genetics. Listen,
are you working out?
I should work out. This week my exercise was running around with the kids in gym class. That was my exercise. Okay. I didn't go out for running. I want to run in the morning. Okay. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But listen, I don't have a perfect scale. Don't have a perfect health routine. I love Popeye's chicken burgers. That's my weakness. Okay. Let you know. Okay. But I always try to eat fresh fruits and vegetables every meal. Have something fresh. My family's vegetarian, usually vegan, and so 95% of my meals are vegetarian. I love sushi, which is again quite healthy. My guilty pleasure is a Popeye's chicken sandwich, just deep fried chicken on white bread. So that is not healthy at all. Right. But I know I don't have that regularly, right? So. I do love dessert. I don't know. I just have, God gave me, I always had a lot of energy, and when it wasn't focused on Jesus, I was always doing stuff. And I was doing bad stuff when I was a kid. I was stealing things. I was skipping class. I'd hike up, an hour-long hike out of school and have lunch over in this really rocky valley, this big boulder, and come all the way back. I was always doing stuff. And I was doing bad stuff when I was a kid. And when God got a hold of me, I started doing good stuff. But I was that problem kid. Steve Little knows this. He was just here all week. Steve Little, Brian Wall, you guys know I drove my teachers nuts. I was the class clown. But then what happens, these bad kids, they're always doing stuff. You're like, stop, just sit in church, just sit in class, just do your homework. When Jesus gets a hold of them, though, then they're doing good stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, God's given me this passion for fun and adventure and excitement. And listen, if kids aren't having fun in the church, they're going to have fun out of the church. So let's have those young Walters. They're going to have fun with or without you. Let's have them have fun in the church. So your party last night's perfect. Saying Halloween is evil. Kids don't go trick-or-treating. That's not going to work. All these other kids are having fun getting a bucket full of candy. And they're going to learn that following Jesus is boring. Listen, we had a party here. We had a bouncy castle, this huge bouncy castle. And you said you're going to pay out of pocket if you had to. We had pizza. We gave out, a little bit of candy and a juice box at the end. That's the kind of stuff we have to do as a church. We need to have fun in church. You can't bore kids into heaven. And those young guys with energy that are causing you all the problem, they're the world changers. You're going to change the world for better or for worse. Have them change the world for God. Get them involved. I got involved in mime ministry. I have all this energy, and I love being the center of attention. I love being the class clown. Listen, I'm not that good at sports. I'm not that good at singing. They got me a mime team. So I finally shut up when I was doing mimes. But that gave me a place to focus my energy, and I got good. I thought about being a full-time Christian mime. When I'm serious, I thought about doing a Christian mime as a career.
I think I remember you at Burma. Did you do something at Burma?
Yeah, we did something.
That was you.
Yeah, with Stephen Gabriels.
Oh my goodness, yeah. That was the late
white
90s.
faces, white gloves.
Yes, that's you guys.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, folks, anyways, Pastor Walter, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your energy. Thank you for answering our questions. And do you know that this is my only second video of interview on my YouTube channel? Okay. It's going to be my interview number 2. So
and you'll send me a full copy of it after you edit, because I don't like editing videos, right? I got a lot of energy, but I like being around people. I'm extroverted. Being on a computer by myself is boring. Yeah. And so send me a copy. I'll put it up on my YouTube channel too.
And I just want to say, with everything you said, our church, I believe, is exciting church here in Victoria. We have so many things. This Sunday we're going to go with the church to see the salmon run. We have the Hallelujah party. We have gym nights. We have bike-a-thons. We have all kinds of activities in the community. But folks, I cannot do it by myself, alone. We need a team. We need volunteers and parents. Come and join us here at Church of Victoria. And thank you, Pastor. We'll be in touch and be praying for your ministry as you travel around. I'm following you on Facebook. You can follow him on Facebook. And the sermons you mentioned that you preached, you can also find them on the Church in the Valley YouTube.
Yeah, I'm going to upload them to my YouTube channel as well as Pastor Walter Rogers is a YouTube channel there. If you go to my Facebook, Walter Rogers, you can see me. It looks like this. Find me there, and then I'll when I'm posting things on YouTube, when I start a TikTok channel as well, I'm going to put the links on Facebook, because my YouTube channel is very small right now. I have like 40 subscribers. So it's hard to find, right? But you go to my Facebook, that's easier to find, and then you can link it over to YouTube.
So what if people are interested to help your ministry? Is there
Absolutely.
So we have set up?
We're in process. We have a nonprofit set up. I actually spent an hour and a half time with my accountant this week. I have a great accountant, Jordan. He was one of the original kids in my children's church at Berman University back in the day. Now he's my accountant.
I remember Jordan, a little guy too.
Yeah,
because I knew his grandpa very well.
But he actually was accounting for the school as well. So it's wonderful having these relationships in ministry. But we're figuring out. I'm not an accountant, so I've hired him and he's guiding me. So we have a nonprofit set up. We have a corporation set up. We're supporting ministry. So we're partnering with the church in Canada. We're partnering with the NAD as well. We're working on the paperwork for that still. So 2 ways that you can get a tax-deductible donation is number one, you can donate to the school. So if the school wants to bring me out, you can donate them. Hey, this is to help pay for Pastor Walter's speaker's fee. They're already set up. I'm still in process. It takes a while to, you got to set the nonprofit first. I did that several months ago. And then once you have the nonprofit, now this next week we're start applying for charitable status so we can give a tax-deductible receipt. So I already have a nonprofit, but we need to now apply for the charitable receipt. So all this takes time. This is the boring stuff I hate doing. So if you love boring office work, talk to me. I want to tell people about Jesus and share stories, etc. I don't want to edit the videos. I'm not that good at it. I don't want to do the boring admin work. And frankly, I'm also homeschooling the kids. And so my priority is telling kids about Jesus, that make sure my sermons, my stories, etc. are top notch, rehearse them, etc. And there's all this stuff I have to do is necessary to be able to do this. But listen, if you want to volunteer and be a part of this ministry and you love that stuff and you don't want to be up front, let me know. I would love to have someone who has a gift for administration help me keep this stuff organized, right? I'm that absent-minded, creative, dynamic professor with a messy office. So if you want to have an organized office, let me know. Again, Walter Rogers on Facebook, and my email is Pastor Walter. My website is at evidenceforgod.net. So website is www.evidenceforgod.net, and my email is Pastor Walter at evidenceforgod.net.
Good. God bless you, my friend, and all the best.
All right. Thank you.